Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 14. Hey everyone, so let's get into the video. This is a cool episode. We have a lot of things going on. We have a brand new opening. We will talk about the opening in a little, and I do have more notes about the episode. In general, it's going to be a big episode, but before going into that, just very general notes. For the anime viewers, in case you don't know, with Hero Academia, they are adapting things out of order. And I'm letting you know that because that's going to impact the review a little bit, because I have to be a little bit careful with what's going on here. And at the same time, I'm not sure if I can actually critique the episode as well as I usually could. It's just because it's a little bit harder, because as I'm watching the episode, I already know all the things that are being kept hidden. And it's just kind of throwing me off. And when I look at it from like the anime viewer perspective, I'm trying to get into that perspective, but I really don't know. So I would like to know, anime-only viewers, are you understanding what's going on in the episode? There's enough clues that if you're looking at what's happening, you should be able to understand the timeline here. But it's such an interesting situation to be in. Now, when it comes to like an adaptation, I think there are observations that can be made. For instance, because they're adapting things out of order, I think the strongest criticism you can give the anime right now, if you're a manga purist, is specifically they're giving away the surprise of the conclusion of one of the arcs. Because the arc that I'm referencing would have happened before this. And my example of how they're giving away the conclusion of that arc is specifically this image from the preview. I know they're going to do it because it's in the preview. If you look at this image, if you look to the right side of the screen, you're going to see some familiar shapes sitting on that table. So what I'm looking at here, if there is a criticism that can be thrown at the anime here, it's that you're not going to get to experience the same kind of surprise or apprehension that you would have felt in the manga. Is that important? I don't know. I don't know. It all depends on the anime only viewers, really. If the anime only viewers come out of this and they feel like, oh yeah, that was a pretty nice time, then that'll be great. It's just like, for me personally, knowing what the conclusion is going to be for a lot of things usually makes me like, yeah, you know, I don't really care how many things are going to happen in the progress, because at the end of the day, I know everything's going to be all right. You know, for me, it limits how much I'm going to get invested, just because if you know you're going to a train wreck, sometimes knowing how you get there, not a lot of shows can actually do that well enough. And ironically enough, the arc that they are moving around and adapting out of order, apparently in Japan, was not well received as much as the other arcs. So I don't know, maybe giving away the information, maybe giving away the conclusion to that arc is it going to help you in the long run? Maybe you're making it even worse than it should be. I don't know though. That's just like my perspective. From this episode, I can see that there's some mystery points that are interesting, like oh my god, what's going on with Dobby? Like, Hawks can't get in touch with him. Oh my god, what's happening? You know, like, those little mystery points are interesting. And it's like, what's going on again? Also with Hawks, why is he talking to these different people? The Liberation Army, as you find out at the end. You could see some of the nice mystery points, but Hero Academia wasn't built as a mystery. So I don't think it comes off as a mystery. I think maybe it'll come off more as just like a jumbled mess. But again, this is where I really need the opinion of the anime-only viewers. Now, moving on from there, the opening. Now, Man with a Mission, I like the group, man. I've seen a lot of their openings. What we got for the opening music-wise, I never really criticize music, but I'm going to do it for just this one because it's Man with a Mission. Music-wise, it's exactly what I expected from that group. Their songs, a lot of times, they don't really jive with me as much as other Shonen Jump anime songs do. But they always have that level of attitude, and they've always got that like really different kind of sound to them. And of course, they have the gratuitous English, which is always appreciated. But yeah, if you were to tell me, like, think of a Man with a Mission song, think about their vibe, and then you see this or you hear this song, it's like, yeah, that is 100% Man with a Mission. It doesn't fully get me, but I really appreciate it. Maybe I would listen to it once or twice, you know, just to like remind myself of what it sounds like. Yeah, Man with a Mission, they're never going to be in my top 10 for anime songs, but they're probably going to be my top 50. That's pretty much the kind of thing they are with for me. Now, in terms of the visuals, it's really interesting, the opening scenes and the atmosphere that is being projected in the opening. And I will do a proper opening breakdown video, but it's just like the first scene in particular, well, not the first scene of everyone like coming together and showing off the cast of characters, plus one random. The scene of Bakugo, Shoto, and Izuku in the destroyed city. I'm not going to talk about this scene. I'm going to talk about the scene in the manga because I don't want to spoil anything. It's just like, let me just tell you, this is a very strange scene to have in this moment in time. Both from the perspective of the manga and from the perspective of the anime. But it is a scene that gets me kind of excited. And also, honestly, like, it looks so super cool. I mean, mind you, I'd rather never see society look like that, but it looks really cool. This actually, you know, the author has liked drawing post-apocalyptic scenes, like, from very early in the manga. So that might just be picking up on that style. Like, if the author likes doing it so many times, I could see the anime doing it as well. But anyway, with the opening, you know, you get to see a lot of little things. You get to see a bunch of villains, and I think it's okay for me to say that they're villains, because I think that the anime previews have already kind of given that away. I mean, you also see the guy with the laptop, who's the guy that was talking to Hawks. This is one of the unfortunate things with the opening, that you will get spoiled. Let's see what other things. There's a focus on Shigaraki. One quick thing that I thought was funny is, like, when you have this scene of the kids in their stills, I thought it's funny because very quickly you know who's important. When you see the people in the stills, this is a giant difference from even last season, or like the last half of the season, where all the kids were having action shots, to this part of the season where it's pretty much only Bakugo, Izuku, and Shoto having action shots. That's just reflective of the fact that we're covering Bakugo, Izuku, and Shoto, but it is hilarious to see, and I love to see it. I love to see whenever you can see who's going to be relevant. And then there's other little details that I really appreciated in the opening with the still shots. Like this still shot of Aizawa, Mike, and the cat. I thought that was really good. And under a blue sky with many white clouds. Yeah, I think that was really cool. We also have many blink and you miss it kind of moments in there. But overall, that opening, I'm excited to break it down. There's a lot of neat little things here. For the ending, I was very surprised that we got like a Hawks focused ending. For the ending, I am very surprised that we got to see a Hawks focused ending. But it was nice. It was nice. I don't have that many opinions for endings. I never usually do, just because, you know, the endings are usually just a chill time. But appreciated. I mean, he like, you can tell he's gonna be relevant because he's pretty much one of the most important guys. If you have a double agent, he's going to be one of the most important guys as we go into the future here. All right, so those are the general notes. Walking into the scene-by-scene breakdown. So the first scene that we have is Dobby and Hawks, and they having their little betrayal dance. It's scenes like this, with this kind of rhetoric that I have on screen, that led to Dobby and Hawks being shipped, and being aggressively shipped. That Dobby Hawks ship is very, very volatile. And look, I'm just going to say, it's not that I don't like the Hawks and Dobby ship, it's that I just think Hawks can do better. I think anyone being paired with Dobby can do better. I mean, heck, even Dobby can do better than Dobby. So really, it's just funny. When I see these kind of scenes, I know that there's many gifs being made about Hawks wanting to be worthy of Dobby. Anyway, in this scene, we have Hawks bringing up that they have to speak in code, and he's saying this to Public Safety Commission. So it's just good to know, just good to see the secrecy that's being involved here. We transition after that because Dobby's like, well, I need to know that you're really with us, right? And we end up with Best Jeanist, and we find out how Best Jeanist is doing. Very good to see him. We find out that he's without a lung, and he informs us that, yes, you can in fact live without a lung. Good to know. I do think it would kind of wear him out more than the usual person, and I really hope we get to see him in the future. But I don't know how that's gonna work, because as you see, Hawks has a very menacing moment where he pulls out a sword, and it's like, why would you have that, Hawks, unless you're about to do something dangerous? And then coincidentally, Hawks has a bag later on. Now, when this happened in the manga, let me tell you, the debates with Best Jeanist and Hawks and Best Jeanist's fate, they were wild. Well, my point on this one, when it came to the manga, I was really hoping that Best Jeanist was still okay somehow. Now, mind you, in the previous episode, remember, like, this is the other problem. We are going all over the place in terms of the flashbacks here. We already know from Bakugo's stuff in the previous episode that Best Jeanist has been missing. We know this is the case. So when it comes to Hawks here, we know that Hawks is involved with Best Jeanist's disappearance. Now, all that said, that's why in this moment in the manga, I really hope Best Jeanist is alive somehow. I really hope Best Jeanist is okay. Moving on, we had the Izuku and the mom scene, and really cute to see the letter. So this is one of the good things that happened in the previous episodes. In the previous episodes, they had Eri writing a letter, and we didn't see that in the manga. So what the anime did here was a pretty simple expansion where they're just like, oh yeah, look, Eri's writing a letter. Then it's like, oh yeah, look, see, here's a letter. That is nice. It's nice that we have that kind of follow through. I would rather they spend it on characters that matter, because Eri got a lot in the previous season. I would rather they give more exposition on, say, Koda or something like that. But, you know, expanded material is so rare in the Hero Academia anime, aside from like the one episode they do every so often, that you can appreciate when it comes. And again, Eri is a sweetheart, so you can appreciate that little scene. This scene was also really important because it's showing Inko's progression with Izuku's journey, and this is going to be really important as Izuku continues doing dangerous things in the future. So it's good to see how she felt about Izuku and how she feels seeing that he's growing up. Moving on, next scene we have is Hawks at the mansion and him talking to the guy from the opening with the computer, and we also see that one hero that was brought up back when Shoto and Bakugo were doing things, and we later see that that guy's being used as the poster boy for the idea of heroes being in the Liberation Army. Okay, so overall here we have a situation where Hawks is with shady people, one of who greatly values Hawks' position in the hero hierarchy. So from that you understand, okay, this guy is smart, this guy is nuanced, this guy sees Hawks and he's like, this is just a great source of information, and you can see that he values someone's position more than he values their seniority in the organization. So that is good to know. That actually characterizes that particular character really well. In this scene, according to the subs we also know that Hawks has micro devices planted on him, and the person makes the note that now Hawks could expose other heroes in a way that not really anyone else can. And we should note that because of these micro devices, Hawks' role as a double agent can also be exposed. That's why we had the scene where the guy says that he noticed that Hawks freaked out when he was about to have black coffee. That scene that line was there to be a power play. That's an example to you guys that, oh, look, Hawks can't even make a mistake with ordering coffee without this guy knowing. That's the degree to which Hawks is being monitored. I believe we also saw a scene of Satellite. So really what you learn is this guy's really equipped. Next up we have the Endeavor scene where Endeavor meets everyone, and this is just really cool character interactions. I mean, Bakugo and Endeavor interacting, that's like something we've wanted to see for a very long time, and it's very good that All Might points out that Bakugo is kind of similar to Endeavor. Anyway, here we also note that Endeavor has changed. This is important because this is the arc about Endeavor changing. Now, fandom-wise, Western audience for sure doesn't like Endeavor all that much, which is unfortunate because when you're looking at this in the manga, it's pretty clear. The author is doing everything he can to say that Endeavor is a different person, but some of the more vocal aspects of some parts of the Hero Academia fandom are very anti-Endeavor. Even though, like, because this is fiction, we have a promise of this guy actually making a change for the good. This isn't as muddied as real life would be. But what you're going to see a lot in this arc is going to be multiple examples, one after the other, with the same energy you see here, and the same energy that was occurring back during Shoto and Bakugo's remedial lessons. The same energy is going to be here. It's going to be about showing, hey, Endeavor's a better person now, guys. Like, let's be a little bit more chill about it. What the author wants to do is say, like, yes, Endeavor still has a lot coming, but he's legitimately trying to change. Whether or not you like how heavy-handed it is, you know, you'll have to see as the anime goes on. But just know this kind of energy that you're seeing here with Izuku saying that, oh yeah, Endeavor feels like he's different. This is the kind of rhetoric that's going to be popping up repeatedly throughout the arc. Heck, the anime might even try and do some expanded material where they repeat the same idea, because that's what the anime usually does. Now, after that, we have like the first trouble scene where we have Star Servant out destroying stuff. He's out on some rhetoric. And then we get the gist for how Endeavor's going to be teaching these kids. He's going to be teaching by example. So we have that shot, which is pretty much copy and pasted from the manga, of the kids chasing after Endeavor when he reacts. And of course, it is important to note Endeavor's accolades throughout the episodes. it happened a lot. Izuku points out that Endeavor acted before even Izuku heard the impact, which is just to say how amazing, how tuned in Endeavor is. What you should take away from that is that Endeavor was able to have a conversation with these kids while also keeping ears open for trouble that was brewing. So that just shows you Endeavor is like a finely tuned heroic machine. And then when it comes to other accolades, you have things like the police coming up to Endeavor and being like, "Yo, Endeavor, bro, not a single casualty. You're a great guy." The big thing that you want to take away from this is that Endeavor is hyper competent. Whereas All Might has all the power in the world, Endeavor's competency is based on extreme practice. And this is going to be another thing that you're going to be seeing in general with Endeavor. So keep your minds open for that, because it's going to be slipped in here and there. One thing to I guess there was another accolade here, is when this hero showed up as Endeavor was doing stuff, and then I'm not sure if this guy's a sidekick, he might be a sidekick, but then you had the note of how Endeavor just told him what to do, and the guy trusted him, right? This is how Hero Academia Society works. This is how it should work. Like, if your quirk isn't up to par for a particular situation, you should be leaving it to the better, the hero with the better compatibility with whatever problem. And this is something that I think quite a few of the UA students could stand to learn, that being that they should not be trying to fight every single situation if they have the luxury to not fight every single situation, and it can instead swap out. Anyway, next scene to talk about was Hawks' arrival and the takedown of the villains before the kids. It's really interesting how the anime adapted that. I was really curious how they were going to do it, but they just did like stills, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to see more fluid motion for it. Anyway, when Hawks arrive, it's really just another great round of interactions. You have Izuku making notes about him. You have those really funny interactions with Hawks selling propaganda for the Liberation Army. Overall, it was really cool, and it was cool to get to know Tokoyami, just know what he's doing. Of course, he can't be involved with Hawks right now because Hawks is in a sensitive situation. Sucks for Tokoyami though. Anyway, before we go into like the whole Hawks and Endeavor trying to figure out what's going on there scene, it's important to note that this scene is built on the idea that Endeavor knows Hawks. This is a scene that only works if you accept that Endeavor understands Hawks and cares about him to a degree to listen to what he says. This scene is based off of... This scene is pretty much... The rewards of this scene are only there because of the build-up that had occurred with Hawks and Endeavor before. And when you have scenes like this, it's just nice to appreciate that it was properly built up, this little friendship that they have. Now, I think the anime kinda... Yeah, I think the anime skipped this, but like there was a one panel in the manga that showed Shoto being surprised at the way that Hawks was talking to Endeavor. And that scene was just there to say, like, Shoto was surprised Endeavor had a friend. That's how I read that scene, and it's unfortunate that the anime took that out, because all it is a shot of Shoto looking, like, in stupefied, wondering, shocked, well, minorly shocked. It's the kind of scene where you can just show Shoto's face there in close-up as Hawks is talking. If I'm recalling it correctly. If I'm not recalling it correctly, then apologies. There's a lot of Shoto scenes. But keep an eye out for the comparisons review. If it's happened, I will show you in the comparisons video. Anyway, we move on from there, and we have the Sidekick Scene where we find Burning. Burning looks like such a trigger character. And here we learn how the Endeavor agency works, and there are some notes that I have for this scene, just when it comes to logistics. But I just want you to note, when something happens, notice how these guys were going crazy, and note how they said they had like, what, 100 requests a day? Now really think about that. One agency handles 100 requests at least, and they're running around like chickens when a request comes in. They're talking about the patrollers, they're talking about like, oh my god, the patrollers aren't nearby, we're gonna go out instead. And it's just like, wow, this is what oversaturation in the Hero Society looks like. A situation where even at the top agency, you're running around frantic. And here, later on, really think about how bad My Hero Academia Society must be for them to be this busy. Mind you, that's also a note on how bad, like, say, the bottom 20% of heroes are, in that the top percent of heroes have to be this busy. But mind you, like, the bottom 20%, there's not much more they can do. They probably have, like, really not the best quirks for every situation, right? But, you know, just to bring up more, because we find out later, and I think this is correct, but like, if the subs that I am referencing are wrong, my apologies. But The Liberation Army has 100,000 people. And I'm just thinking like, okay, so Hero Academia Society is oversaturated with heroes. I would love to know, is Hero Academia Society oversaturated with criminal elements? Let's face it, if you're forming an army, you're probably like a criminal element to some degree. And we know 100,000 is just one organization. So again, you know, my question is, would you say that Hero Academia Society is oversaturated with criminals? And if you would say that it's oversaturated with criminals, can you be oversaturated with heroes? Because heroes are specifically there to deal with criminals, but if there's more criminals than there are heroes, doesn't that mean maybe you need more heroes? But if you're oversaturated, you can't add more into the system without breaking it. And mind you, I'm being very critical here, and I just like the line, and I know like if you play around with the definition of saturation and oversaturation, it'll work. And like you can bring up the comparisons to, like the phone market, that the phone market is saturated, but really when you're talking about saturation in business terms, like if a market is saturated, what it's saying is that you might have a harder time selling in the market. Like when it comes to selling books, for instance, if you're going into a saturated market, like say shifter fiction on Amazon, when you're talking about saturated market, it's a double meaning. One is that there's incredible demand for a particular thing, and two, it's like it's so saturated that you may not actually have a good chance of getting eyes. So like when you look at it from the perspective of oversaturation in the market, it implies that there's going to be an overabundance, and that overabundance is going to create a situation where it's going to be hard to actually get noticed and get purchases. And when you like go back to heroes, it's just a situation where, like, again, if the heroes are oversaturated, they would not be as busy as they were. If the heroes were oversaturated by the most critical definition, you wouldn't have Hawks wanting a society where heroes can take it easy. Mind you, like, there's a flip side to that, where if the heroes aren't competent, then you could very well have an oversaturated situation, because it's a saturation in a different light, where you're saturated in the market with a lot of inferior products, and those inferior products are like just ruining it for all the other superior products, which is probably the closer definition to what's going on in Hero Academia. Because like here we have the example, Endeavor's agency has 30 sidekicks. Imagine what's going on when you have 30 people centered around one person. That's just speaking to the reality of the situation. Your quirk determines a lot. And if you don't have a great standalone quirk, you're probably going to have to be in a support role. One thing I'm very interested about is what in the hero population, what is the proportion of sidekicks to heroes? Because at this rate, we've seen it before, that when it comes to sidekicks, like look at even Night Eye. Night Eye was a small operation, and Night Eye had 2 sidekicks. If you look at Ryukyu has 4 sidekicks. There's the one character that's never been revealed yet, or I think her name hasn't been revealed, but Ryukyu's sidekick. We've seen her there. I think Fat Gum has another sidekick besides Tamaki, because there's another person that shares his design. Yeah, no, when you look at it, the proportion of sidekicks should actually be quite high. But ultimately, you end up in the situation where, especially when you look back at Midnight's comments, and we're going to have to keep bringing this up, because saturation and the idea of having too much heroes, this is going to be important for the future, and that's why it's important to discuss it here. But when you look back at Midnight's comments from the last episode, it's just such an interesting situation where just saying that society is oversaturated with heroes, the situation here at Academia Society is so nuanced that anyone that says that just out loud is the equivalent of just having what's it called in English? I know the term. Buzzwords, right? Oversaturation is a buzzword in Hero Academia Society, pretty much. Going into the saturation topic requires so much nuance, because there are so many other variables coming into this, and if you don't explain what you mean by oversaturation, the definition is way too broad. And so I just like seeing this, because this is just another situation where you're seeing the reality of the ground, and that the reality is that sidekicks form around one central pillar, and when you look at central pillars, you actually don't have that many central pillars. One thing that's also going to be good in the future is to see what exactly does a sidekick do for someone like Endeavor. And I can tell you, thankfully, there are examples in the future of where you see sidekicks working well. But, you know, Hero Academia is not going to be very overt about it, so when we do get into those scenes, I will let you know. But again, the oversaturation topic is always very interesting, and I'm very happy to be able to talk about it here. And of course, I'm trying to keep all the nuances there, but if you feel like I missed a nuance, you can come in and add. But I think this time I was very fair. I gave both sides of the saturation thing. Let me know, of course, if I missed anything. Anyway, after that, we have the Endeavor breaks the code scene. And this scene can only happen because Endeavor knows Hawks. It was cool to see it, that Hawks lets us know that the Liberation Army is the thing and that we have to be careful with the info. He talks about how because of the rogue elements, the Public Safety Commission can't talk about it because they don't want to leak it to the wrong people. So that's actually a really good explanation for why information is so tight-lipped. And of course, I already made a note about the over 100,000 members. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of it, I think. By the end, yeah, did the episode actually end there? Is that the last scene? Yeah, pretty much. Endeavor finding out about it. So that's pretty cool. Next week's episode, we're going to be covering more of the training arc for Bakugo, Izuku, and Shoto. I will put up a preview guide video just to like give you a hint of what else is coming. I'm not going to spoil it. And I'm going to be doing more bonus Hero Academia content only because the channel's dying and I need more views. Just keep that in mind. If you want more Hero Academia content, subscribe to the channel. That'll definitely help. But yeah, anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. That's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.